Hey everybody, this is Troy from Country Wood Products. I hope I'm in the camera. I can barely see it. I've got a good light behind me, so we got good view here, and it's far away. Because of the nature of this video, I'm building something huge today. This is, I think, about 8 foot long packages I got in the mail. I'm going to build a router sled for flattening live edge slabs. My primary business so far has been selling live edge slabs, and now I'd like to transition into building things for sale with the live edge slabs rather than just selling them. I'm going to continue selling, but I really want to get into doing some of my own furniture for sale. I've been selling some slabs for ultra low prices, and then talking to the customers about the tens of thousands of dollars that they make with my slabs. So it's time for me to step it up a notch and get in that game myself. So what I have here, a couple things. I have here something that arrived a few days before. I had opened this already. This is a really nice, actually, universal router mounting frame, all aluminum. It's got different, you know what, I forgot what that's called, but anyway, different inserts and a mess of screws for attaching your router and these adapters. So we'll set that aside. And then I got, and I'm not sponsored by these guys or affiliated with them, but I got some slides with bearings from Weaver, and I'm hoping they arrived in good shape. The boxes appear to be fine, except for on the end, because this is going to be a precision instrument, and needs to be straight. So they appear to be well packed. I'm really hoping these are straight. They are heavy duty. Heavy. I mean heavy, like heavy weight too. So I almost purchased, I had it in my, actually I went as far as to setting up payment on a router sled, completely finished product, but I was reading reviews and I wasn't quite sure if I really wanted to commit to that anyway, because the reviews were a little bit sketchy and I wasn't so sure if how I wanted to go with that, with sketchy reviews. So I did have it in my shopping cart and actually went to pay for it. Payment method was denied. Okay, maybe I didn't have enough money, I thought I did. So the next day I went and paid again, payment denied. Well, that's odd, because I was sure I had the money. So I felt, well, maybe somebody somewhere is telling me something and I'm not supposed to do this. So I stopped and I gave it some more consideration. I read some more reviews. And what I found is often there's sag in the middle of the $300 average price range router sleds that are available out there. And I'm not sure if I want to give out $300 for something that's questionable, may or may not work for me, because I'm going to offer slab flattening services as well. And I can't be having some hack job equipment. So I canceled that and ordered these rails from Weaver, which I hope will do the job. Now, I might have to buy some MDF because I don't know if this table is even flat. This has been one of my assembly areas. Oh, isn't that weird? there's markings. This has been assembled. This has been mounted before. What is going on? This is bad. This one at least, yeah, these have been mounted before. Somebody has used these and returned them. That is very, very disturbing. Not at all happy. Let me get you in a closer up view here. These have clearly been installed and used by somebody already. These have been mounted, and somebody, whether Viver or Amazon, sent me a used set. Both of these have been used. They've both been mounted before. Look at this. This is unacceptable. So somebody used these, gave them back for whatever reason, and I also noticed that the bearings are loose. They're very loose. All four of these are incredibly loose, and these are newer. You can see they don't slide as freely. That one's really stiff. When these have been used a while. So, what to do now? I have a project for a customer to finish, so I have to figure this out. I need to contact Viver and give this some thought and find a flatter surface, because either the bars are bent or my table is way off. Probably both. Here we're really way off. Here in the middle we got quite a bow, and on the end here we're really off. So my guess is somebody was using this and something went bad with them. There's a lot of marks and flaws in this. This is really roughed up. I don't know how well that shows on the camera because aluminum can be tricky, but these have been very much used. Alright, well, I've got to do some thinking, get me a level in here, straight edge, and figure this out. So it appears that although the bearings have been used heavily, the bars themselves are relatively straight, and there is some flex in them over length, so that once I get a sheet of MDF on here, I can pull them straight. These tables are not very good, so I'm definitely going to have to put some MDF on them. They are a stable work base, relatively stable I guess, for my needs. So I'll get some solid framing underneath these, put a piece of MDF on it, and I should have a pretty good workspace. So what I've done is set this up and just laid it out. It's very smooth rolling. Of course, there's no screws included in the kit, which I wasn't sure of. I guessed, but I also knew there was no mention of screw size or anything, so I didn't know what to get until they arrived. So I have to wait for the hardware store to open, take one of these in, and get some screws. And then I can put this all together. The plate mounts up fine, it's going to fit fine. I have to check it with my router that I'll be using, make sure that'll fit. If not, I'll have to drill some holes. But there's an idea how it's going to look. Can't wait to get some screws. I'll be back in a little while. I got hardware. I just came back with hardware, and then I realized only one hole lines up per bearing, unless I want to drill holes later on. I can probably get this to work. I'm not sure what's going to happen if I do it like this. Only one hole lines up. That's odd that they didn't provide something to mesh up with something else. That's very odd. Let me get a screwdriver. I'll put some screws and see what happens. So I got way more hardware than I need. This was a tough find. These screws cost me 60 cents a piece. But hardware has gone up, I tell you. 60 cents a screw now for these. I got washers in case I need them, but it looks like this metal is thick enough that I'm not going to need it because the bearing blocks bottomed out with the screws. I couldn't get shorter screws. But this is going to work. So I'll get that in there and we'll see what's going to happen. Well, I'm going to line this up down the table so that these roll back and forth. You don't have to watch that. What I'm going to do is slide these back and forth and make sure that they'll go. What I don't like, see that wobble that I have now? I don't like that. I might actually have to go to the drill press and put in the extra holes for these. Well, it definitely goes down the table well. Very smooth. I figure with two of these, the rate of the router should not have any impact at all on any flexing on this at all. Whereas with the one I was going to buy, they said if you're working on something wider, there's a lot of flex in the middle that you have to account for somehow. Well, that's not a very usable product then if you have to do that. So I figured I'll just make my own. Probably going to need, how thick is that? Maybe not. I hope these will go through here. No, there is going to be some drilling needed. Okay. I test fit one screw and it worked. Wonder how many of you thought I was going to put this plate on upside down. That worked out. I bought 4 longer screws. I can find them all. Put the other one in the box. And I'm happy I did. It was an afterthought. I bought 4 longer screws thinking, oh, you know, I might just need them. And sure enough, these were 80 cents a piece. $0.80. But this table is going to make me some money. It'll be worth it. I'm just trying this for a dry fit. I'm not even torquing anything down. I just want to make sure everything's going to move and there's not going to be any weird twisting on me. Those feel tight. I don't know why that's so tight. That's really tight. Might loosen these. Maybe there was some flex or play in these a little bit. Those two are not tight. See if that makes a difference. Down here's loose. Well, it works anyway. And back and forth works. Maybe I won't need some extra holes. It feels good. Oh, there it. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, that's a problem. Yep. Okay. I'm definitely going to have to tap more screw holes into them to make that work. So, many hours later, and much drilling and adjusting and re-drilling and adjusting, and I've got it, and I've got this. It's going to work. I haven't tightened the screws. I was just checking it out. Actually, I'm not going to torque them down hard until I get this worked in a bit. They should tell you that there's no holes for the bearings. The rails do not match the bearings. And they should tell you the screw size. That'll save people a lot of trouble. These are M6, by the way, if anybody does this. I got M6 screws. By, I think, 8mm and 1 centimeter or something like that. They were M6. Well, that's solid. Rolls nice. So we can go through the motion to what it's going to be like. Now I don't have this on tight. I'm going to have to go back to the hardware store. I got this second hand and I didn't have the screws. So this one is not tight. 2 of the screws are not tight. I'll have to take this in. Yeah, that one's not tight. 1 is tight. Actually, it's pretty good on there though. Well, for today, that's all I can do. I'll get some more screws and I'll get that on there, but we are looking good. Well, everybody, a few days have passed and I've given this much thought and consideration and decided to go with wood. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to use. It's a little snug around the sides of this router, but I'm going to build it to fit this router and hope this thing lasts. If not, I'll have to rebuild to fit a larger router. I don't have a lot of space here. If I was to go with a larger router, then I'm going to have to rethink everything because I don't want to lose too much motion this way either, or this way. So I'm trying to keep this tight as close to the router as possible so I still have my full range of motion on this table so I don't lose any space. So I've got it just sitting here. And I think this is how I'm going to do it. It's been a lot of thinking and took some time. But now I'm going to have to find out the spacing on these, pre-drill some holes so this doesn't crack, and get these mounted, pre-drill through here and get these mounted, and then get that router plate on there, and we should have a router sled. I can still reach, that was one important thing, I can still reach, this one does have a lock, so that's important, I can get to that. So that was a major consideration. But I wanted to bring the router plate flush to the bottom of this rail. So then I can raise and lower the router into the wood as needed. Well, I've got it set on, and I was trying to countersink the screw. This is the longest screw I can get. Unfortunately, they don't have one longer at the hardware store here. Longer than this. This is the best I can do. So I was trying to sink that in and I had some tear out, and there's no way this is going to work. If I tear that out all the way down, it's just not going to work. I have 2 options. I look around for another screw somewhere, different hardware stores, or I extend this a little bit further out. I make a new piece of wood. Sorry, I'm not on camera. The other option is to come out further. This way I'm fine, this way I was too short. Now the good news I realized is I can come all the way back to the edge. I'm going to actually have to put a stopper on here so I can come back so far that I can hit this rail with my router bit. So the good news is my carriage here isn't going to limit my motion at all. That is going to work out fine. I'm absolutely going to have a stopper though. Probably a chunk of wood down here or something so that hits and prevents that from chewing up my rail. Okay, I've got a couple in. I'll just fill this with some wood glue and sawdust to make that look better. I decided to keep the wood like it is and just come into the next piece the next hole in. And I've got it moving. Obviously it moves this way, but I've got to screw in these two bearings. I'm going to let you watch as I do this. I'm doing it in place. I'm semi-freehanding it. It's not really the greatest way to go, but I'm semi-freehanding this. And then I'm using a router to countersink it, because I don't have a countersink here yet. I'm still setting up my wood shop. See if this will fit. Hope so. Yes, it goes through. So now I'll slide this over the bearing. Hope I got the alignment right. Try to get that in. I'll let you watch one. It's a bit of a struggle. It's not precise work. Where is it? Hopefully it's right. I don't know if I got that hole lined up right. Yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world without the right tools. But again, I'm still setting up my wood shop. I gotta get that screw out of there. I cut my fingernails last night. Okay, I think I've got it. These top bearings are tighter, but I can probably adjust them. So I can run this over a slab now. I've got a live edge slab flattening system in place. Well guys, I'm experimenting with my new router sled, my live edge flattening jig, and I wanted to experiment off camera because I've never used it before. Oh, somebody's here. False alarm. Somebody was turning around in the yard. So I have been experimenting. I didn't want to do it on camera because I had no idea if this would work. It's actually working. But I had to experiment because the issue I'm having is height, and I didn't want to waste your time with that. I've been trying different thicknesses of wood under the rails to get the height. So that's going to be something I'll have to work on in the future to make that quicker. I have right, left, forward, backward, but I do not have up and down adjustable more than what the router itself can do. And I'm not getting the depth on a thick slab like this that I need. So I've got to drop the router down to its lowest capacity. That's another thing I was experimenting. I can't take too deep a cut. It's not a super high powered router. It's an oldie anyway. And I can't take too deep a cut. So I had to that was really thick, so I went and did half the thickness, and then I'm going to drop the router to its lowest setting, and I should almost hit the entire surface of this. Then I'm going to have to drop out the boards and put in thinner boards. I started out with a 1.5, then I ended up with a 1 1/4, a little over an inch. Then I'm going to have to drop down to a 3/4. The issue I'm having is the distance between the rails and the slab. So I'll let you watch a couple of minutes here, and well, seconds for you, and then I'll carry on. Well, that works very well. This is going to be beautiful. There's a tiny depression here. I'm probably going to have to readjust. Well, I absolutely have to readjust the height of the rails. And then I'm going to have to do another very shallow pass to take that little dip out. But I almost got it all. Just that tiny little bit. I'll bring it up closer. But first, let's look at this and see. I've got a lot of work left to do. I don't think it shows very well on camera. But right there, that is over a ½ inch raise. So by the time I'm done, this piece, which is starting about 2.5 to 3 inches thick, is only going to be as thick as that spot right there. So you see, I hope that shows on camera. Started to vacuum and then I thought, wait a minute, a lot of people complain about the mess on their router sleds, and honestly it's not a problem for me. The workspace is relatively clean. This particular router blows the stuff, and the bit in it blows the stuff right off my workspace. Now granted, it's getting thick down in here, and you can see my bearings are pushing on it. But on the wood itself, it's just fine. I think that is just incredible. I hope that shows up. That's going to be beautiful when that's sanded. And it's got a shimmering effect. When you look at this, there's lines in it here that when you look at it at different angles, it has different colors. I don't know if that's showing up on camera, but I'll try to get that better later on, especially if I ever finish this up, or when I finish this up, I mean if I ever get it on camera. Well, there's one side. This is a very red side. Well, those colors really pop out on the camera. That's the first side I did. Well guys, that's it for this video. I absolutely call it a success. Got some upgrading to do and adjusting to do, but I'm happy. I'm very happy. It does work. It did flatten a slab nicely. Please do like this video. Subscribe if you haven't. Talk to you later.